Hey everyone, Dean from Independent. So I'm here with Mark from Greenspur Architects and Lost Whiskey, and they've been customers of ours. They have a great Defender 110, fantastic patina, kind of the vehicle for their brand. It has Lost on the side. And the more we got to know these guys, the more the symmetry, the parallels to everything that we do on the Independent brand and the Agulhas brand. That for us, Land Rover is not just a brand, it's a lifestyle. The reason we love these vehicles, the reason why we drive them, the reason why our clients do, is that escape from the norm, the mundane, the sense of adventure, the promise of adventure. Everything that we get caught up with in the day-to-day craziness of life, there's so much escape and that we always seek in that. So Lost, and Mark can talk more of this, just the name and the ethos and what they stand for and how this whiskey company, how it was inspired. So I'd love to talk more with Mark about this, share with you guys the story.
Yeah, my name is Mark Turner. I'm the co-founder of Lost Whiskey Club, and we have an architecture firm of our company called Greenspur. It's a real treat to host you up here today.
Thanks. Cheers.
Our hearts have always been in love with Land Rovers, Defenders, old body styles. What you do is really inspiring to us, and how you do it really resonates with us. I love driving that thing. The analogue can't go fast, can't be on your phone, can go anywhere. It's a total pain in the ass because you gotta keep maintaining it, but it's something that makes no sense. But the whole culture of Land Rovers, the original ones, what you guys are doing is something that I'm a big fan of, and brings a lot of joy to me. So thanks for coming up today.
That's great. Well, like I said, there's so many parallels, and finding new friends like this through what we do on our day-to-day, and finding friends that are so in line with our beliefs and our lifestyle and what we aim to achieve from this life is really refreshing. So telling stories and exchanging this is super special to us. So going back to on the architectural side, so how you started as an architect and what inspired you and what created this fantastic space we're in. So if you can speak to that, what inspired you to be an architect, and then kind of your feel and what set you apart in Greenspur.
I've always had a passion for building things.
Mm-hmm.
As a young kid growing up on a ranch, I was always building crap out of wood. My cousins. Just love to create things with my hands. It brings me a lot of personal joy. So Greenspur is we try to do things in a somewhat sustainable manner. So it's green comes from like the sustainability of good architecture, spurs from my Western heritage, so the two together, Greenspur. So I'm technically not an official architect. I get architects that work for me. I think I'm an architect every day because I'm always designing stuff with my pen and pencil, and I don't think that precludes great design. But I got really talented licensed architects that work for us and have for many years. Zach Casper being our lead designer. So it just brings me a lot of joy to design and create things. Always has.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So heritage, so Outway, so you grew up on a dude ranch in Wyoming?
Yep, I was blessed to grow up on a family dude ranch outside of Jackson Hole, north of the valley. It was kind of a famous shot that Ansel Adams took of the Tetons. It was kind of from our view shed. So
wow,
we've been hosting families out there for 100 years. It's great horseback riding. We do hunting and fishing. It's a pretty analog experience in itself. Our cabins are there's no TVs in them, and we do farm style, family style dinners. And it's been like that for 100 years. So it's a special place. It's kind of my DNA of loving nature and sharing it with folks, and good adventures came from the mountains of the West.
Yeah, love that. And I spent a lot of time out in Colorado, and just I totally get it, love it. So Mark, a lot of his inspiration and what he loves is history and his family history and the stories. He was sharing with me this family book, little coffee table book, about the Dude Ranch and just the history and some of the photography and lifestyle in this is just fascinating. So tell us a little more. This book was is from your Dude Ranch, photographs and history of the property.
Yeah, it's a book that actually my father and I put together about 10 years ago. So we interviewed other family members. We collected the pictures that we were grateful because we had some of our ancestors had really good film cameras back in the day. So we've got a really good kind of anthology of black and whites from the beginning time to now. And there's no shortage of characters that have come through that ranch. Our family and friends have come through there. There's just some, I think the West breeds tough characters, especially women characters are tough. So you kind of have to be out there to survive. Certainly back in the day in the early 20s, you definitely had to be tough. But my grandmother was from Mexico. She was born and raised in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And she wanted to kill an elk when she was 18. So she hired a guide, and the guy was pissed that he had to take this woman out. And she killed the biggest bull that year, and they fell in love, and that's how the ranch started. It was on an elk hunt.
Oh, man.
She her whole life she could out drink and out shoot.
And she's in this book?
That's her right there, Louise. You can see how she's...
Oh, yeah, totally.
Definitely have... So we went back and... Long story, but she ended up in Wyoming, kind of through happen chance. Her dad smuggled her out because the Poncho Villa was killing a bunch of people down there, so during the revolution.
Wow.
So she still has... We found out late in life that she has family in Mexico.
I noticed in this book there's a lot of back with the architecture, a lot of like the old log cabins and like the natural elements, which obviously back then you would use whatever was on the land. Like you'd cut down trees, build your houses, use the rock, use everything that was on property. And I see a lot of this Lost Lodge that you've used. That is that inspiration, or as you when you build, you try and bring a lot of the elements from the property in there?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting parallel, frankly, with what you do with old Defenders and Land Rovers. The West, you built things out of necessity. So you didn't overbuild because you had to take care of it. You built stuff that you could maintain and kind of control yourself, similar to the original concept of Land Rovers. You could work on these things in the field and repair it because you had to. It was utilitarian out of necessity. You didn't add a bunch of computer chips or things now that are really tough for some to self-manage. So, log cabins in the middle of the woods, they were built of a certain scale and of using materials from the raw land that were all based out of utility. So when we look at architecture now, we kind of look at that with that lens. Don't build it too big. You got to keep it within scale. Try to use materials that are easy to maintain. Don't fluff it up too much with the extras because it doesn't matter. So try to distilling it down to like the bare necessities is to us kind of the challenge and magic of good architecture. A lot of the Scandinavian cultures do it really well, I think. So we get a lot of inspiration from them. But there is a lot to kind of intertwine here with what you guys do and how to take that old soul and reconnect it, but not overcook it.
For us, there's one of my big sayings is beauty and simplicity. So when we look at a project, there's definitely beauty and simplicity. It's so easy. And companies do this to try and set themselves apart and just like they go overboard super quick on it. So taking a step back, understanding what the brand was, what it means at its roots, at its core, what Land Rover is as a brand, and keeping in touch with that is super important to us. So don't overfluff it. Don't put a crazy big engine in. Don't have all these leather quilted seats and big stereos, and just there's beauty and simplicity. Like getting in that car and being able to touch things and having it struggle to start sometimes if it's an old beat up Land Rover, like smells great, like all the patina. There's you can't pay for that. It's just fantastic. So
what's interesting, like I said in the article, but Harvard did a study on what's trending right now in consumer behavior, and some of it's like environmental and stuff like that, but there's like a bubble chart of what's trending the most and it's demand for simplicity. It's crazy. People like are craving that bubble in the pie chart. And I think old cars are like that. I think well-designed spaces are like that. I think a lot of the most precious things, what we do are the simple things, which is, it's awkward because we're chasing super complex things right now.
Mm-hmm. So I love that parallel with your brand and Lost. So obviously Lost, you talked to us about the name Lost, but to me, and we spoke about this earlier, being lost, like we're all lost in our lives. Always go, 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 trying to get the next carrot, keeping up with the neighbors. Our kids, it's so hard. I mean, they're lost constantly. Cell phones, devices, always needing to be turned on. There's a concern of mine for my kids, and I talk to them about it a lot, is the ability to daydream, the ability to be in a place like this and look out and just let your mind run free. Like the new generation just cannot be lost. And I think there's an importance, and it's a shame that, and it's a concern of mine, it's like that generation is, will they be thriving for that? Because they don't understand it. So talk to us more about Lost and the name, about the history of this property. Love to hear that, and then how that came into the whiskey brand.
Yeah, some of it's was circumstance. We bought this property kind of without knowing some of this, so it was just by chance, somewhat, like a lot of good things. We look out over a mountain ridge here, which you can see in the foreground. It's called Lost Mountain, and we did some research, and lo and behold, George Washington purchased that 1,000 acres of this mountain to retire. George Washington surveyed most of Virginia, and so he was pretty well tuned on good pieces of property. So he picked this little ridge to retire on. He had a home site picked out. He'd come up here and check on it. There's journal entries on that, and then he became president, and he had to sell the property. So we looked down on Lost Mountain. So we named the whiskey Lost Whiskey. It's a club, it's a lifestyle, it's an ethos. And I couldn't share your concerns more, and it sounds like we're old men here drinking whiskey, talking about concerns we are with third generation. But I do think, and I have kids of my own, and I struggle with myself personally, is the people that are engineering these phones and the endorphin feedbacks are sophisticated engineers that do slot machines in Vegas, and there's just no way a young person or even an adult can compete against that kind of science and neurology. So it scares the heck out of me. I was really fortunate to grow up in a place where we didn't have any of that, growing up on a ranch, and they go out to the west during the summertime, and they start to see some of that, and it's amazing to see, like, your kid's character kind of come to the surface and their joy come back, and they're not doing this all day, and they're tired, and they've got great stories, and they've got skinned up knees, and the joy comes back to their face. And we try to do that with our brand. It's not whiskey to kids, but try to reconnect people to the dirt and the grit of kind of, like you said, being lost and not knowing all the answers and not having all the answers. And sometimes that the best adventures are the ones that are kind of half-baked.
Yeah, we had a great, I mean, COVID, as awful as COVID was, I think for us as a family, and for I think so many people who were able to have that opportunity to be lost and just get out there and not be connected all the time. I mean, for us, we're super lucky. We have a place in Colorado, and while my kids' friends were stuck in their basement playing video games, bored, my son was out. We have an old Willys Jeep, and he was gone with his cousins with a pellet gun and a fly rod, and just disappeared for the day. He would do school early in the morning, log on, do his school, and then 3 p.m. done, and he was gone. And we did that for 6 months in Colorado. That was the life. So no matter how awful COVID was, it gave us a little chance to reset and realize the importance of what was important. Family and nature and not being connected all the time. So
yeah, I mean, COVID was the best and worst things that happened in the West, right? Because you saw people experienced that. And land prices,
Yeah.
ironically, even shot up even more than they were in a lot of those great locations. So it was real.
Yeah.
It still is.
Yeah. 100%.
People being connected to the earth and land, I think, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. So this is fantastic. Tell me more about what I'm drinking now.
So you're here enjoying it at Lost, which it always tastes better up here, but
Yeah.
our brand, try to keep things super simple and, kind of in the spirit of analog. So we're drinking a high wheat bourbon here. Our bottles are intentionally smaller and narrower, so this is only 375 milliliters. So you and I could enjoy this with some self-restraint and then finish this bottle. This is story 133. So, you would keep this leather strap, and we only do single barrel, but you'd always kind of keep this on your keychain, remembering that, we had a chance to swap stories and talk about each other's interests, and you're memorializing that experience, which to us is important. So these are like, every bottle has its own story, and we're doing one right now, but the very first bottle, I sat down with my dad in front of a fire.
Wow.
And we talked about his career and life. We talked for an hour and a half and finished the whole bottle. We got it on film, and that, that leather strap was one of the most valuable possessions I have in my life.
Love that.
It's actually right here. It's the key.
It's on the Land Rover key?
Yeah. So
look at that.
Now it's all leathered and beat up.
Love it.
So, that's important to us. I think people finding it's important to them. It's a small tool that helps people have that experience, and that, from our perspective, the vision of that company was to create kind of the inertia for moments like that to take place. And we get stories from, I know you're from South Africa, we've gotten stories from Africa to Iceland to Japan to, we had a girl do a horse race in Mongolia. The world's toughest horse race.
Oh.
She brought Lost Whiskey, and she ended up winning the damn thing. It's the hardest horse race in the world. So it's been really rewarding to us. We're a small company, but we get stories from all around. People taking us and putting their saddlebag, fly fishing in Jackson, or elk hunting, or you name it. And so for us, you can look at our feed, going back to social media, but it's really rewarding to see how organic and kind of real the response. These aren't contrived stories. These are real stories with real people, and that brings a lot of joy to us as well.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, you've created a brand, not looking. I mean, obviously, profit is important in any small business, and anything you're trying to do, you don't want to be losing it and have the brand sink before it even gets time to take off. But starting with a story and something meaningful, and having your ethos be something that's meaningful, not only to yourselves, but to the people it touches, is like so powerful. And it can only be successful from that if you start with that at your core. And I even think that's what we aim at in all the trucks we build and the vehicles we service. Everything is, it's not, I mean, profit is important, but the stories and the depth of that is way more important.
So talk to me about your consumer profile, because I think it's probably similar to our consumer profile. What kind of people are coming in?
So Independence, the company, has been around for over a decade. I had a shop in San Diego for 6 years, always been involved in Land Rover. And a little diverted here, but I got into the brand because of the lifestyle. I used to do adventure racing for them. Growing up in South Africa, they as a young kid, I would watch them pulling boats into the ocean, all beat up. They're all rusted away, got a steering wheel and an engine and just workhorses. So my DNA was almost like Land Rover. It's like growing up with them. It's the only brand that really resonated to me, but it's because of just what they are, the lifestyle and the workhorses, and like a salt of the earth person. Like that's what Land Rover is to me. So coming fast forward now to where we are in Bethesda, a lot of our clients are, we have soccer moms, we have CEOs of companies, we have college kids. The thing with Land Rover is they're timeless. I mean, you could have an old beat up Range Rover with patinaed out, and you could be a CEO of a company, you could be a plastic surgeon, or you could be a kid in high school. Like, they're so timeless, and they go across generations. I mean, so many of these vehicles are passed down as well. So obviously we're in a very affluent area. New Range Rovers, people buy new Range Rovers because they're a status symbol.
What's the sweet spot of the vintage you would pick if you had to pick from the beginning of Land Rover to the down the making? What was the golden years of their production? The models.
Well, to me, the Range Rover Classic and Defenders are like
So
the
that would be
golden
in the
one.
blend from like this.
So Defender,
70s to the
yeah, Defender started 1983 was the first Defender. So the early series trucks, even though they're fantastic, it's a tractor. It's like super rough and comfortable. I mean, there's so much beauty in them, but to drive that any more than like 5-10 miles, it's exhausting. So Defender is really the sweet spot where they refine the suspension. You can drive a little further. They're still noisy, they're uncomfortable, like you're still very tactile. So the Defender is really, I mean, and people gravitate towards that, not just the looks, but
I love it. I get in that damn thing, I'll go down. I can't be on the phone because it's too loud. It's manual, obviously, so you can't be on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be like aware because
yeah,
the brakes and everything else. You just got to be totally in tune. So to me, it's like total flow state. When I get in that damn thing, I'm totally present in the experience, and it's so great.
I mean, the brand has come a long way, and the new vehicles are fantastic. I mean, they reliable. They've got a bad rap, and but they're super reliable. My Range Rover has done almost 200,000 miles. 2014 supercharged. It's fast. It's comfortable. Drive it cross country all the time. No issues. So the thing about reliability, as long as they're maintained, they're great vehicles. So the new trucks are fantastic. They're beautiful. I have an ordering on a new Defender. But to me, that sweet spot is like the old Range Rover Classic, which was late 70s, early 80s. They revolutionized a lot of the like air suspension and like a lot of things that are modern day cars were started by Land Rover on the early Range Rover. And then that Defender is just fantastic. So definitely sweet spot.
It's the Queen's car, right?
100%. Yeah.
Didn't the husband make
Prince Philip, or
the one that passed away recently?
Yep.
Did he make like a custom
pickup truck?
Like a hearse, like for his burial? It's awesome. We're actually doing a trip this fall, going to Scotland, and they have Land Rovers doing. We should talk to you about it, but this Irish stag hunt.
Oh wow!
The Nutty Islands.
Yeah.
We're gonna be wearing tweed and driving Land Rovers, going after Scottish red stags.
That's awesome.
Fly fishing for salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. Drinking Scotch whiskey. There's 14 of us going over for this trip. It's great.
So is Scotch or bourbon?
All right. So a little Scotch, as everyone knows, can only be made in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon can only be made in America. People say it can only be made in Tennessee. In Kentucky, that's not true. It can be made anywhere in the U.S. Virginia was the birthplace of whiskey, so we feel like we're tipping our hat to the old history of whiskey and bourbons. But bourbon has to be made in America. It's got to be 51% corn, and it's got to be aged in a new white oak charred cask, so you can't reuse. Also, as soon as that white kind of white distillate hits the wood, it's considered bourbon.
Really?
Straight bourbon is a minimum of 2 years, so everything we do is 6 to 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Only do single barrels, so every barrel has its own unique story and profile, so we don't do any blends. So we dump it, and we do the white label is 90 proof, which has got a little bit of water in it because it did 90 proof.
Mm-hmm.
We do a black label, which comes straight out of the that's the black label.
What's the black label?
That's cast strength, so that's 120 proof. Wow. It comes straight from the barrel. So we're drinking right now, so I put water in it.
Okay.
And then this is a 10-year double barrel, which my sister did the artwork on. It's an old elk coming out of the kind of this fog. So we got different product lines, but we keep it a high wheat and a high rye. Rye whiskey is generally 51% rye or higher.
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon has to be 51% corn, so it's a high rye bourbon. Bourbon, in my mind, tends to be more smooth on the back end, so the wheat will be a little sweeter and mellow. Wheat has some smoother grain. Rye is a harsher grain, so it has more spice to it. It's gonna have a little more heat to it. It's great for cocktails, for making old fashioned or rye Ricky or something like that. People that tend to like Scotch or have a good palate tend to like rye better because there's more going on with rye.
Mm-hmm.
Cask strength is really popular now because it's if you took a microscope, you would see like charcoal and kind of pieces in it. It's not filtered, it's not diluted, so it's kind of the pour over coffee of bourbon is the cask strength. So, but our product, like a lot of good bourbon products, are meant to be over ice and damn sure not with Coke.
Yeah. That's delicious. Really. So Mark, thanks for hosting us up here today. It's a great learning your story, hearing about the lost. New friendships formed, so many parallels. We're excited. We have a lot of things in the works, so excited to share with you guys in the future. So thanks, cheers, delicious. Excited for more adventures together.
Yeah,
let's get lost.
You guys up for some curated events. We can do some food and gears and fair terma. So
love it.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Cheers. Thank
Cheers.
you.